What's going on, everybody? My name is Suge, and I'm here with Mr. Jay, and this is our review for Chapter 18, the second episode in Season 3 of The Mandalorian. We're going to be talking about it, breaking things down. It will be spoiler review, so if you haven't seen it, come back, check us out after you watch the episode. But Mr. J, I hope you're doing well. How are you doing today? Uh, we didn't really miss, but we had some things come up. Happy anniversary to you and your lovely wife. So we took a couple weeks off, but now we're back, and we got about four more episodes at the time of this recording. So we're gonna go back to the second episode of the season, uh, the Mines of Mandalore. Where we're gonna talk about Din Djarin going to try to go to Mandalore to find the waters that he needs to bathe in to be redeemed. Uh, the, what he was told by the armorer of that covert uh, clan. Basically, I don't know what the clan name was. I apologize. Um, but let's go ahead and start off. Uh, your overall thoughts of this episode, and then we'll get into spoilers a little bit. What was your overall thoughts about it?
My overall thoughts of this episode was, I think, our first review, we had made predictions of what was going to happen. We weren't, well, we were kind of off, but over 10 surprised me. I thought I didn't expect her to be as helpful as she was
Yeah,
in this episode. I thought she was going to hold a grudge, but that
well, she
surprised
kind of
me.
did. She kind of still did hold her grudge up until she realized what had happened. And
Yeah,
like again, we'll get into spoilers in a minute, but
yeah.
go ahead.
But yeah, she was like, yeah, I didn't expect her to be as helpful because her history with Mando or like his other name. But yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we can get into spoilers now. So, uh, Mando goes to back to Tatooine. He was trying in the first episode was trying to fix our IG-11, so he can help him to see if the air is breathable. Because they talk about it when it was bombed by the Empire that it crystallized the earth, the grounds of Mandalore, and so it made it uninhabitable. So he was trying to get a droid to see, they can breathe, things like that. Um, and so he was then able to get IG-11. So he goes back to Tatooine. He's given R5D4 to go to Mandalore. He gets to Mandalore, and you see the cool how from coming in from space into the atmosphere, it's all like storms and everything like that. And then once he gets through it, it's clear, but that you can see the bombings, you can see the buildings that were left over from when the Empire dropped bombs, and it was really a really dope kind of sight to see. I don't know if they used practical effects or if it was CGI, but it looked real to me. I don't know if you felt the same way, but it definitely looked real, like a city was once there. So they get there, and he tells R5 to go try to get a sample of the air. R5 goes and he disappears off the scope. So Mando gets out. He air pressures his helmet. He gets out to go try to find him, and he runs into these creatures. Now, my understanding was these creatures. Um, I, I cannot pronounce this. I don't, but they're native troll-like species that were there, but they were hidden because obviously the Mandalorians lived there, so they never really came out. And now that Mandalore's abandoned, they're out. Um, or what were your thoughts about that beginning of the scene when like Mando entered the cave and you could see all the city and ruins and everything like that? Like, what were your thoughts when you saw that?
I didn't even think I didn't really have a thought about it. It looked like from a number of cities that we've seen in different movies that's been abandoned, that's been destroyed. Kind of look just like that. Just hey, here's a
Let's But it was kind of dope being underground because you watch Clone Wars and all that, right? You watched the cartoon, so that how it looked in the cartoon? Like obviously it wasn't destroyed in the cartoon; it was actually full cities and everything like that.
I
But
will have to
the,
go back. My memory's kind of shoddy because Clone Wars was a while ago. Was a while ago, but I would definitely have to go back and do my research. I can't really say yes or no referring
okay,
back. Yeah.
okay, yeah. I didn't watch Clone Wars, so I don't know. But my understanding was is there was some cool scenery and it looked like a city that, like you said, it was like every typical abandoned city, apocalyptic,
Mhm.
destroyed city. It looked like that, but it was really dope. So Mando, they find R5. He gets the air sample, the air sample, and they say they can breathe. So him and Grogu go, and they start to go down into the city, and they're walking, and he's following the water because he says that's probably going to lead him to the living waters. Um, and they get to like a sewer type thing. I don't know where exactly where that because when Bo later comes, they actually go into the caves. Whereas
Mhm.
this, he was like in a sewer, and he sees a Mando helmet or a Mandalorian helmet. He goes to pick it up, and this big old contraption just gets him. It was a big old machine. Just gets him, and it walks off. Grogu follows him, and you find out that this machine. And I didn't download the picture, and I should have. But this machine has this eye that is attached to like a exoskeleton robotic body. A lot of people compared it to Grievous. A lot of people, they didn't know what it was, but it was dope. I mean, you see the eye, you see it come out. It comes out of the bigger body. It was really dope to see and kind of interesting how they went with that. And it doesn't survive long. It only lasted this episode, but
Right.
a lot of people speculated that this was, because when you see it go into its lair, you see other Mandalorian helmets in there. So
Mhm.
obviously it had got a hold of other Mandalorians, and it stabs Din Djarin with a needle and starts sucking his blood. That was kind of crazy. Like, oh, this is a Disney show. Okay, we're gonna suck the blood out of somebody. All right, cool. So Din tells Grogu like, "Hey, go get Bo." And in the beginning of the episode, what I kind of skipped over was he was telling Grogu as a Mandalorian, you need to know star maps and systems because when you're out there, you need to know where you can go. Um, and so he tells Grogu to go get Bo Katan. Grogu takes off to the ship. Obviously, R5 was still in the ship. He was able to fly it. They get to Bo Katan. And like you said, Bo Katan, you didn't know she was going to be so helpful. She actually her droid tells her, "Hey, we have an unauthorized visitor," and she sees the ship, and she's okay. I'm going to take care of this once and for all. Did you think she was going to try to challenge him for the dark saber, or was she just going to attack him and be like, "I don't want to deal with you anymore"?
I thought she was going to like end. I thought she was going to end it because for me that by her body language and the tone of her voice, I thought she was going to be like not kill him, but to tell him off. Not no tell him off though. But she was looked like she was like serious. Like, hey, I'm tired of you. Don't care what happens to you. But when she sees Grogu, you know how when you see kids like sad faces and then your posture change, you'd be like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm not that bad of a person. And if Grogu made it all the way over here on his own, that must mean like, hey, one Mando is teaching you something. So that means, oh man, I can't just leave this foundling. Well, yeah, well, foundling, his foundling here,
yeah.
and leave him to die because then, like, what am I? I know she doesn't fall away, but she's not that bad a person now. Like, she's not completely evil, or even not that evil or bad at all. She just
Yeah, she really changes over these couple episodes. She actually
right.
really
I saw
changes,
that.
and we'll get more into that. But you're right. I think that her initial reaction was going to be like to tell him like, "Hey, I don't want to be bothered anymore, and if you keep messing with me, we're gonna get into it."
Mhm.
But she sees Grogu, she takes him, and they go back to Mandalore, and she's having a conversation with Grogu as they're walking. She's like, how good are you with the Force? Because we obviously know from the cartoon she dealt with Jedi, she's been around Jedi, she wielded the dark saber,
Mhm.
and things like that. But then, like, that kind of showed how, like, when you watch a cartoon, it's like, okay, it's cool when they do action stuff, but the live action version, like when she kind of backs Grogu up and shoots the ceiling, and the thing and that creature falls and she just tears them apart, like, and she just takes them out. Like, it was really dope to see her live action show those skills. Um, and then when they get to the lair, she's trying to help Din. The thing starts attacking her, and she gets the dark saber, and she you would have never known. Like, she just destroys that, whatever that thing is, with the dark saber. And she was, and if you notice, when Din has used it, he's had an issue picking it up. It's heavy for him. The lore is that it feeds off of your energy, so if you don't feel worthy enough to wield it, it's hard to wield it. But we do know that Bo wielded in the cartoon version. She did at one time wield it, and she just tears the thing that had gotten Din, um, and tears it apart. What was your reaction when you see her seeing her wield the dark saber?
I thought she looked like she's the rightful owner. That I'm the rightful. She's had practice with it. Like I said in Star Wars Rebels. She's wielded it before. She's held it up. She's led armies until up to this point. Obviously, time skip, but she looks smooth with it. Like, you see the Din Djarin struggling. Oh, it's heavy. Oh, I could barely swing it. But like you said, toward the thing part, like she's like what, Samurai Jack or something.
Yeah, no,
People
she
just
looked like
watching,
a Jedi. She
right?
looked like a Jedi,
And Grogu just watching with his big eyes, like, you are better than my dad right now.
right? Right? Yeah, and so she gets him out of there, and I thought the episode was actually going to end right there, but it doesn't. Um, she's lets him rest, and he gets up, and he's like, no, and she's like, all right, well, I'll take you back to your ship. He's like, no, I need to go to these waters. And like we just talked about, she was very like stone cold, very like aggressive toward him. Like, she wanted nothing to do with him or those Mandalores. But then it kind of changes, and she's like, all right, well, look, I'll help you get to the waters. Um, because you'll get lost, and I know where to go. So I'll take you over there. And she takes him, and there's a point where she's reading. There's a thing, inscription right there, and it brings up the mythosaur, and it talks about that the waters was actually a mythosaur lair prior, and this is where they got the ore from, and they did all these things of, like, redeeming and bathing in the waters. But she's standing there as Din starts to go into the water, reciting the creed. um and you could tell when they were filming this, they did a focus on her. Like, it wasn't like she was in the background. It was a real focus on her face, where she almost kind of admired Din, for doing this. Like, it was like a renewing faith. Like, she kind of like really felt like renewed. Did you get that sense when they panned to her, when he was going into the water?
Like, yeah, because I think the episode before when she says, "Oh, it's not courage. There's no such. They doesn't have any properties or whatever." And
Yeah.
he sees that this that Dan trying so hard to like get back into the creed. That it's like you say, her faith is renewed. But at the same time, maybe she needs this because again, she doesn't have nobody around her. She was just when Dan pulled up, she was just chilling in her throne, soaking and being mad. So maybe
Right.
she needs this renew. She needs to see somebody so devoted that it kind of like spreads towards her. Like,
Yeah, for sure. No, you're absolutely right. Um, and then Din all of a sudden just goes underwater. Now, the
yeah,
first reaction was, okay, something pulled him.
right.
She jumps in without hesitation, and it is deep. Like, that shot was dope, but it was deep. Um, and you don't see anything. Like, you don't see something pulling him. You don't nothing. So she grabs him, and she's heading up. She's going up, and as she's going up, she looks, and we get this. We get this eye. We get this. And the camera kind of pans out, and you see Tusk. You see a full body, and we find out that this is a mythosaur. You know, And if you don't know what the mythosaur is actually, if you go back to the Star Wars Christmas special, Boba Fett's in there and he's talking about riding the mythosaur, which was actually not canon, but then it became canon in the first season of Mandalore, where I forgot the gentleman's name, but he tells Mando, goes, "Your ancestors rode the great mythosaur," and so mythosaur became canon, and it's kind of their belief in what they believe in, and so we see one for the first time, and Bo sees it, and like we were just said, she didn't believe in any of this stuff. Like she believed it, but she wasn't. It wasn't the main purpose for her.
Right.
Uh, and now she sees a mythosaur, which was based all on their culture. What were your thoughts when you saw the mythosaur as she was, or did you think something had pulled it down? Like, what were your thoughts when that whole sequence happened when he fell in the waters?
Oh, I thought he was screwed. Like for me, my first thoughts, I really thought he was screwed. But thankfully, yeah, Will Cortan jumped in without hesitation, and I didn't think he was gonna. I think he was gonna put up a fight because I'm gonna say this right now. I don't think Mando's a good hand-to-hand combat dude, but he's a better pilot at hand-to-hand combat because throughout the seasons, he's always on his back. Like he's always I ain't gonna say easy to defeat it, but it just somehow he's always on his back. Somebody else needs to help him. And I'm thinking, I know you're Mandalorian, you take this seriously, but you see other Mandalorians like you see the Creed, you see Jango Fett, Boba Fett, and like yo, they at least got the hands a little bit, but Mando,
He
I don't
just
know.
doesn't have those hands.
He don't really have them. Like he has the weapons, but after like that flamethrower or that little Batman looking thing that comes out their wrist, that's it. And he's struggling with the dark saber. So what, like like are you really? Do you want to be Mandalorian? Like, are you good at being a Mandalorian? Like your heart is in it. You've been a Mandalorian since you were a foundling. Well,
Yeah.
are you good at it? Because everybody else, like, that's gonna come up in the next episode we'll talk about. But everybody else knows training, is training with like a hand-to-hand combat, like it's like to the death. And you, every time I see you get into a big fight, you lose. But no, but back to my point. When he was being pulled under, I didn't think he was gonna die because Bo-Katan was hot on their trails. And yeah, when I saw the Mythosaur, I was freaking out. I was looking like, holy crap, what was that? And then, but watching the next few episodes, it was like, oh, that's what their creed, that emblem kind of is based upon. So hopefully we get to
Yes.
see, his full body, his full.
Eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, well, here's my prediction. I think somehow either Mandu or I'm hoping Grogu is gonna ride it. It's like something Avatar, like to where hey, you need to or something with what Ezra did with the whale. Like, hey, you need to force connected with the force, or you need to let it accept you, something like that.
Yeah. So it makes sense. Like Avatar, like you said, that makes the most sense. Like it has to gain your trust,
Mm-hmm.
and once it does, it's gonna serve you. We do know that we're kind of like how the dark saber is. If you wield the dark saber, you rule Mandalorians. But if you ride the mythosaur, it's as equal, as having the dark saber. So it's going to be very interesting where to go with this. When I saw the mythosaur, I was very like, okay, and then like you thought, like the way they scaled it, how she's swimming up, and then you see the mythosaur eye, but then they like pull the camera back. That thing was huge
Right.
compared to their size. Um, and they get out of the water, and you like it was crazy because you know Bo Katan hadn't taken her helmet off, but
Right.
the way she's staring at the water, you can see it in her face, like, oh, what did
Mm-hmm.
I just see? You know, and that's where the episode ends. And so you're like, okay, so now what's gonna happen?
Right.
And there was people talking about, well, is she gonna, because we'll get in the next episode, but people were talking about, okay, well, what is she gonna do with this information? Is she gonna hide it? Is she gonna tell Din about it? Is she gonna excuse me? Is she gonna try to tame it? Because like I just said, if you rode the mythosaur, it was like a big deal. It was kind of like having the dark saber. So what was she gonna do with this information? A lot of people were kind of wondering. And when it comes to this episode, I liked it a lot. I think it furthered the story, more of the lore than anything. Um, I don't know where the season is going, because you kind of had a heading with the first two seasons. You knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
You knew where you were going. This is like, it's not that, and it's not a bad thing. It just feels like, all right, where is this heading?
Like,
Because
it's just
we kind of, yeah, well, because we have sequels to the Star Wars movie, and understandably, Mandalorian came after the sequels, as far as making them. So we don't see Grogu or Mando in those sequels. So are they going to write it to where something happens, or are they going to write it to, they're going to kind of fix things, to kind of write them into those stories, or what are they going to do? We don't, and I don't, we just don't know where this is going. So I'm very interested, and when we start talking about the next episode, uh, after this one, the next two episodes, um, it's kind of interesting. Like, this was a very short episode. It wasn't a lot of. It was some good action. I really liked it. It was some good character building. Because, like I said, when we first see Bo-Katan, she's very stone. Very like angry and things like that. But then by the end of the episode, you're kind of like, on her, not on her side, but you're like, you feel bad for her, like you said, because all her clan left. She doesn't have anybody now. But then also too, like, you're kind of like rooting for her now. You're like, okay, well, what are you gonna do now? Like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna help Mando? Are you gonna try to betray him and get the dark saber back? Like, what are you gonna do? And you said it right when she came out, when Grogu shows up, and she realized Grogu was by himself. She kind of let the wall down. It's like, okay, I'll help you, because it's you, and I'm gonna help him, because you're dad. Because she even in the other episode, she calls him your
Mm-hmm.
father, your dad. Um, so, are you have any thoughts of what we're going to see later? I mean, like I said, we're going to talk about the next other two episodes, but you have any thoughts on how the growth of Bo-Katan, uh, in these episodes?
In this particular one, from what I've seen from like Star Wars Rebels, no, this was kind of like the first time I see her let her walk or guard down completely. Because in Star Wars Rebels, she was like, so the leader, the badass. No, I'm in charge. No, rah rah rah. But this is the first like kind of, as this is the most human. Yeah, that's right. This is the most human I've seen her. No care
Gotcha.
about,
Yeah, agree.
like care about, no. She cared about her sister, but not in this way where she looks at and feels about Grogu and Dendron.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, I think we'll kind of end it here on this episode. Um, I think that we got some good character development from her. I think we also got some good character development from Grogu, because he's seeing all these things.
Um,
I know he's a puppet, and like, he's not saying much, but you get a really good sense of,
like body language. His body language is telling a lot.
but yeah, his body language is telling a lot. His actions are telling a lot. We saw him really. The force is, he's still strong in the force. He looks like he needs a little bit more training,
Yeah,
he was able to protect himself and things like that.
a little bit.
And I think the line of then telling him, like, hey, you need to know where star maps, and know where you're at. I think it's gonna come. It came for play in this episode, but I think it's gonna come more in play in the later episodes, where he's going to have to figure something out, whether it's Din gets kidnapped or captured, or he gets captured and is able to get away. I think that's going to come into play somehow, that he's going to have to figure out how to get somewhere on his own, and because Din's not there, or he's not going to have anybody there for him.
And another
And if Go ahead.
another point with the Grogu's like body language. That point we you had mentioned earlier where Bo-Katan kind of shot the creature or out the ceiling, and but beforehand, like 2 seconds before, we see Grogu like kind of step back, like, "Hey man, you got it." So he's kind of
Yeah.
so he's still kind of like a kid, like like a toddler, or despite how old he is, he doesn't really hold a lot of confidence in himself. But you see, well, we're gonna talk about it. But you see, even throughout the seasons, that you see Jen encouraging him, like, "Hey, you can do this. Like, hey, I need you to help me because
Yeah.
I know what you can do. I've seen what you can do, and we see it in the first season where he stops that giant rhinoceros.
Yeah, the Mudhorn. He stops the Mudhorn, which is what their clan is they're the Mudhorn clan. Him and Din. So yeah, 100%. We're gonna see more grow, and I think it's interesting when we get into these other chapters of him training. And he's not. It's not going to be Jedi training. It's going to be Mandalorian training, but he has Jedi powers, so it's going to be interesting to see how he grows there. So before we end this part of the episode, any final thoughts on this episode? Anything you didn't like or anything like that?
Um, no, I liked it. You know, I said good. I'm always good up for character development, learning. We learned where Denjaro was born at, the moon around
Yeah,
so that's pretty good. So I didn't know that.
yeah,
And you see the father relationship with the father and son relationship grow. You see Bo-Katan grow as a character. You know, saying we learn a lot. We learn a lot more. So I don't think this episode was a waste in any way because it was informational that might come back into future episodes, future Star Wars projects.
yep, for sure, for sure. All right, so for that, for with that chapter 18, that is our review. We're going to be reviewing chapter 19 and 20, so make sure to check those out. Appreciate you if you enjoy this content. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let us know what you think. If we got something right, if we got something wrong, or if you agree or don't agree with us, or you have a prediction, let us know in the comments. Uh, get ready for the next chapter. We'll see you then.